Welcome to Walking with Jesus Bible Study. We are going to be in the book of Matthew, chapter 20, verses 25 through 28. And this is going to be Jesus speaking to the disciples. But Jesus called them unto him and said, Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. And I'm going to repeat that. But Jesus called them unto him and said, Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. And even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. You know, Jesus and God says many times in here, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. This is clearly what that is speaking. And also the parable, what he was teaching about, where the guy goes out and he gathers workers all day, and he said he's going to pay them, I can't remember, but like I say, a penny. And I'm paraphrasing this parable, of course, and I forget which one it's called. But he goes out and finds workers, and at the beginning of the day, he takes these people and they go out, and he says, at the end of the day, I'll pay you the penny. Then it comes about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He goes out and finds some more workers, and they come back and they start working. Then about 4 or 5, he goes out there and finds some more workers and brings them there, and they start working. Then about 7 or 8 o'clock, he closes it out and has everybody line up. And he starts giving a penny to everybody. And the person who came at like 9 o'clock in the morning said, Hey, why are you paying that man who's only worked an hour to the same amount that you're paying me? And he says, Why? I am being fair. I said that I will pay you this penny for a day's work. Are you saying that I'm not fair? It is fair. It doesn't matter what time y'all have come to work. The day's work was a penny, and you agreed to come work for this penny a day. That parable is speaking of just these verses right here. That it doesn't matter. The first will be last and the last shall be first. That everything will be fair. We may not see it. We may understand it. But we all have come to work and to serve. It's not the same. This world will not be the same. How it operates in heaven is not how it's going to operate on earth. When we're in corporate, corporations, all the head honchos are the ones in charge and get all the better pay and the better benefits. See, God when he brought Jesus down here, he come to shake things up and to speak truth and not to be like the world. And that's what the Pharisees could not understand. See, they like to place rank and placement. They like to boast and who was the higher of the priest and who had this and who had this one. I sit in this seat and I sit in this seat. It is not like that in heaven. And Jesus kept telling his disciples, in fact, right here, the reason why these verses came to be was because the sons of Zebedee their mother wanted them to ask Jesus for a placement on the right and left hand of Jesus. Because they felt that they have done enough work as the rest of the disciples, if not even more in her eyes, that they should, because they did this so-called amount of work, that they should be paid better, reward more. But Jesus is telling them, hey, we all did work. That it's not even up to me, it's up to God. He will place people where they go. and that we're all going to be rewarded. We've all called to do the same job, and that is what? To build up the kingdom of God. In fact, the ones who do the most serving for God's kingdom will be placed in higher seats. Unlike how this world corporation does, where they got the leaders. In fact, most people in the higher up seats of what they call this worldly thing does the least amount of work. In fact, all they do is just boss most of the people around and take the credit for the work that other people have done and get paid more for it. God is telling us that we need to be servants, that we are here to be servants. We are not better than our master. In fact, Jesus is our master, and when he came upon this earth, he didn't ride on a horse like royalty does. He rode on a donkey. And if you notice that when David was going to make Solomon become king, what did he have him ride on? You know, he had all those horses. He had all those nice horses, but he had Solomon ride on a donkey. On his donkey, to show that he was the new king. When Jesus came and everybody was calling him the King of the Jews, he was what? Riding on a donkey. Another good connection is that you know that David was a shepherd in the town of Bethlehem. Jesus is the shepherd of all of us, and he was born in Bethlehem. He came to serve. We are asked to serve. We have too many people out here putting ranks on themselves and placing themselves above other people. And you see that in our churches today. They have their little mini cliques. In fact, you can tell when you go to church, and I'm sorry, in almost every church I see this, almost every church, as far as all I can remember, even growing up. And it didn't matter if it was Baptist, Pentecostal, whatever. You got these little cliques of all the people who have these name tags as, you know, prayer warrior, worship leaders. Oh, the usher who sits people down, to the people who are the worship team. They place themselves like they are better than the rest of the congregation that comes in there. In fact, they'll even have gatherings and exclude certain people that in the congregation. I've seen them. I've went to this church where the kitchen was in the hallway of the entrance before the church, so you had to literally pass by it to even get to the church, to where you can go sit down. And they would have food, and you could smell the food, and you could see them getting ready, and then they wouldn't even tell the people of the congregation, and it was just and it was enough for like a lot of people, but it did not one time did they ask the people to stay after and to join in this eating celebration with the others. No, it was only for their cliques. The people who got the church ready and together, and they rolled their eyes at the other people in the congregation as if they was peasants. I've seen churches be discriminating against people of different color. And when they would go all meet together out for lunch, they would exclude the poor ones, the ones that had a different color skin, and wouldn't invite them. And they would make an announcement. Those of you, now we're going to be leaving at such and such, so make sure that you're there in front of the other people. How rude to think that you're better than the... Why would you even bother to do it all? If y'all such good friends, then maybe y'all could do that on a different day. But see, it was showing placement. It was showing rank and showing that I am better than you are. How are you gaining love? And, you know, why would these people want to come to you? You know, the church is supposed to be a hospital for people to come and to seek help. But they push the people who are sick away. They don't try to help the people that come there for help. They do the same thing to people who have tattoos. They just assume that all the people who have tattoos are drunks and drug addicts. And they won't even allow them to pray. I mean, I went to this one church and they wouldn't even allow me to get on the floor and pray. They said I had to go pray in another room. Now, I could go up there and pray with the other people when they went down to the altar. I mean, it's crazy what people will do to think that they are better than most people. We are all called to be servants. We are here to serve. Our whole purpose is to do God's will. And God's will is for us to be grateful and thankful, to spread the word of the God to everybody else, to share the gospel and his love, to build up his kingdom, and to be a servant to God and a servant to others, to place all your neighbors and the other people above yourself, for the good of God, for the glory of God, and for God's kingdom. But you see too many people seeking their own will. Oh, I hope that my will lines up with the will of God. Well, if you're not serving others and serving God, it's not lining up with the will of God. I can tell you that right now. Because God's will is everything that has to do with his kingdom. And if it doesn't have anything to do with God's kingdom, then it ain't got nothing to do with God's will. And that is a fact. But most people are just caught up in themselves. We're not even supposed to be selfish. Nothing, in fact, everything in this book tells us that we need to die to ourselves. To not be selfish. To not think of ourselves, but we are called to think of God and to think of others, to love other people as we love ourselves, that we are to die to our flesh and die to ourselves. But most people are all concerned about is my will and what I want. Selfishness, placement, rank, status. Me, 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 me. This is what this world has come to. Everything is a platform for themselves. It's very rare that you see people gather together anymore for the benefit of others unless there's something in dire need. Why does it have to be some tragic event that people come together? But you won't see that. Very rarely do you. And they're sure not going to put it on the news. The news is so negative. I believe I haven't watched the news in almost like 20 years. I can tell you that. And for good reasons and good riddance. But we are here to serve. To serve God and to serve others.